And we are back here live on the only Monday through Friday lacrosse talk show on the planet. This is Daily Dive, and that is Teddy Jenner. Teddy, welcome to season 2 for the first time.
What's up, Big Mike? How are you, man? Thanks for having me. It's been a while, but sometimes you just got to let the air breathe and let some other people shine. And you've had some great guests over the last few weeks, so happy to be back with the lads.
Absolutely. And Teddy, we appreciate your time once again. You just got off a game in Vancouver, and overall, how has the year been for you in the games that you've done?
Honestly, it's been pretty slow for myself. This was just the third game that I've called on the season, just the way the schedule's worked out, and all 3 games have been Vancouver games. So Brad, Chantel, and I get to go to Calgary this weekend. The Roughnecks obviously have a double dip, so we're going to be able to be fans for the Friday night game before we call the Saturday night game between the Roughnecks and the Rock. But it's been a great year so far. TSN treats us incredibly well. Our broadcasts continue to get better, whether it's the Western crew or the Eastern crew. It's just been such an incredible fun ride, and looking forward to more games as the season goes on. But yeah, been a slow start, but now back fully in the saddle for a good stretch the rest of the way. In
the Saddle Dome, if you will. Right. So week 9 offered some great things in the National Lacrosse League. I also want to plug hashtag NLL on TSN because I like that new thing they're doing this year, and Kylie on her little halftime reports is kind of cool as well. But for the week 9, a few things I want to get to here with you. First one is Colorado beating down Vancouver. Because you were there, what did you see in that game on why Colorado finally was kind of breaking the mold of what they were doing early in the season, which was not much?
Yeah, and I think for Colorado, it's just taking some time. I talked with Jason Bishop before the game, and you know when you don't have Ryan Lee and you bring in Connor Kelly, there's obviously a bit of a distinct difference between the two. So they had to get some cohesion, and they had Zed miss a game due to the suspension. So they had some guys in and out of the lineup, especially offensively. And Joey Capito missed the first handful of games due to injury. So when you look at this Colorado team, it's just taking them some time to gel. And yeah, sure, back-to-back championship games, there could be a little extended hangover. It takes a lot out of you to do what Colorado has done over the past years, especially that first year with all the injuries they went through. And then last year, the struggle to the final. So it was not kind of expected, but I think they were understanding the fact that that slow start was just a necessary process of what's gone on over the last few years. And the last few weeks, they've really started to put a lot of good things together in that offense. Connor Kelly is looking absolutely phenomenal. Zed Williams is always going to be a beast. But, you know, the big difference so far for them right now is Dylan Ward is healthy, and Eli McLaughlin is starting to realize that he can take over games whenever he wants to. A natural hat trick to start that game, and they never looked back. And it was just an incredible performance. You kind of had in the back of your head, oh, maybe this is going to be one of those games where one of these teams jumps out to a huge lead and the other team makes a dramatic comeback. Unfortunately for Vancouver, that wasn't the way it is, and they didn't get a great performance in net from Aaron Bold. Their defense has been great for Vancouver. Their offense kind of Jekyll and Hyde. They're either a good first half team and a bad second half team, or vice versa. So I think Colorado is just a team on the rise right now, and Vancouver is just continually to struggle. But for Kurt Malosky, he knew, we said this on the broadcast, he knew it wasn't going to change overnight. This team wasn't going to be a championship contender within the first 6 weeks, 12 weeks of the season. It's going to take some time. So they need to just understand that Kurt has a plan. The old saying, trust the process, and they're doing that. So they're going to have some really tough moments, but they're also going to have some real positive moments going through, so they just have to learn from those. So I just thought it was a classic Colorado-Vancouver game where the Mammoth controlled the pace right from the get-go, never looked back, and that's a great sign for Mammoth fans.
Oh, it really definitely is, considering I was saying common opponent meant nothing because Georgia went in there and got their butts kicked, and then it's so weird how that worked.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, it's interesting. You know, we were kind of talking before the show about, you know, East versus West and some of these interesting matchups that the National Lacrosse League has. But you just got to play the game that's in front of you. You can't worry about what games you've lost now. You just have to continually move forward. You know, Georgia's on a dip right now. Colorado's on a bit of a rise. So, you know, you could lose 2 games to a team and still pass them in the standings just by winning the rest of your games. So I think Colorado's completely forgot about those 2 losses to Georgia and just focusing on the plan of what's ahead.
1000%. Speaking of teams that get off to hot starts and you expect another team to make a comeback, Panther City, it was the last game of the weekend, and this certain fellow named Callum Crawford been around the pipe for a long time. Wow. At what point, because I asked Proud the City podcast host this yesterday, at what point when watching that game did you think, okay, this is going to be a blowout? Because I thought it took me like 5 goals, and oh my God, what's going on here?
Yeah, I think once it got to like a 7-8 goal lead, I was like, okay, we're pretty good here. They've got this game in hand. And that's no shot against Las Vegas because that is a great team. I played with Sean Williams. He's a great friend of mine, and yeah, he's a character guy. He always gets the most from his team. But sometimes you can just see in the body language and the mechanics of a team going through the motions that you realize, yeah, they don't have it. And what Panther City was doing just so easily to Vegas. Like, they made it look easy. And it was just, everything was flowing. Callum Crawford was shooting everything at the net, and it was going in. Phil Caputo had a great game. Will Malcolm obviously was lights out as well. They were getting contributions from everybody in that offense, even from transition to offense. So it was kind of like the Colorado-Vancouver game. You could just see it. Once it got to 6-7 goals, you just knew that there was no comeback happening. You kind of wanted to, just to kind of see that game have a little more life, and wouldn't have to have had some of the extracurriculars that it did. But Panther City is a team that was always going to compete. They were due for a big game like this, and Callum Crawford just continues to prove that he is not washed.
And you know that too well. Were you on the game when he got washed?
Yeah, we were on that
game. So we have a question from a person named Louis_18. It says, Teddy, summer ball question. Are you still with the Victoria Tier 1 Bs?
I am not coaching that team anymore. I was released during the off season, so I'm going to get to enjoy some summertime off and hopefully do some of the Canadian Championship games or series, President's Cup, Minto Cup, and then hopefully do the World Box Lacrosse Championships in Utica this summer. So get some time off, nice relaxing, but still will be busy broadcasting games as the summer goes along.
That was our first ever live question for a guest. I just had to throw that in there, so I appreciate you. Woohoo! One other game I want to get to is the Bandits walk into Hamilton and undressed The Rock, but then again, The Rock came back and led, and then they didn't. Were you watching that game and did you feel like The Rock could actually make that comeback? Because this was crazy.
Yeah, and this was just a clash of giants. Obviously, Toronto was coming in with the perfect record, 5-0. Buffalo is a team that was coming off the loss to New York, but Buffalo had also, as we all remember, beat Toronto 2 straight games in the playoffs the year before. So there was, and there will always be tension when these two teams face off. And it's from players, it's from coaches, it's from fans, it's from the media. There is always tension when these two longtime rivals go to bat, and neither team wants to lose. And so you could see the urgency in that Toronto team to make that comeback and get all the way back to level. But then you could just see Buffalo say, nope, this isn't happening. We are not letting this team beat us. We own them. This is our chance to plant the seed that, hey, we still are the champs. Let's go and get this job done. And I thought Matt Vince and the defense shut the door. I thought Steve Priolo was a massive impact as a leader for that Bandits team. But then, we talk about teams that have dynamic duos. Obviously, Dane and Josh are there. But when you can get the depth scoring that Buffalo's got, and even for Toronto, when you get a lot of that depth scoring, it just takes you to a different level of team in the NHL and the NLL. You need that depth scoring. It can't just be 1 or 2 guys, and those teams both have it. I think Tom Schreiber was a little rusty in his first game back. He will obviously get better as the season moves along. But Toronto was bound for a loss, just like Albany was bound for a loss. And I think that loss is good that it came now. It came at a junction in the season where you can now just focus on the last 2/3 of your season. That first block is kind of done. first 6 of 18 is kind of out of the way. You're 5-1. That is a phenomenal start. Now you just have to focus on the next 6, kind of find your rhythm again, and then find your way into the final 6. So I just thought it was a classic Toronto-Buffalo game. You wouldn't expect anything less. Nick Rose and Matt Vince going toe-to-toe. It was just one of the games of the weekend, and it was billed as such, and it lived up to the hype.
Love it so much. And I'm glad you mentioned the first block, and because we are technically 6 games in for most of these teams, if not all of them. And really, I want to ask you a question. Give me like a handful, a couple. Which teams do you think are about to go on a run? I don't want to take any Warrior Burning takes away from you if you don't have any of those. But like, how is
I think this is a big weekend for the Calgary Roughnecks. Obviously, the Riptide and Rock at home, back-to-back games. If they can win those 2 games, they jump up to 4-3, above 500, get themselves in the top 8. Obviously, we've talked about Colorado quite a bit, kind of turn the corner. And I know Adam Levy has been in my ear constantly about this. He thinks the New York Riptide are a playoff team as they stand right now. They are obviously playing much better lacrosse. Jeff Teat is letting everybody know that he is the real deal, even after a little bit of a slow start for him in the Riptide. I can see this team making a strong push. They do have some tough games ahead of them. But, I like New York's push. I like Colorado's streak over the next few days. If Colorado can keep playing the way they are and Dylan Ward doing his thing, I think they're going to be fine. Albany's come back down to earth a bit. The loss from Toronto is, just settling them into the season. My concern is Georgia. We're talking about teams on the rise. Georgia's kind of a team on the downfall right now, so that's a bit of a concern for me. But, you got to look at Calgary, Colorado, New York. Those are 3 teams that I think can really start to make a push in this next sort of 6-game block.
Which of the top 4? You got the Rock, the Bandits, the Firewolves, and the Seals. Which of those 4 are your favorite right now?
I'm going to be the Western homer. I'm going to say the Seals. I know Chris Riglieri doesn't have the winning pedigree or the experience in the NLL as Nick Rose or Matt Vince, but I think Chris Riglieri has definitely thrown his name into goalie of the year category with the way that he's been playing over the last few weeks. And Cooper Perkins will admit that Wes Berg has to be in the MVP category for everything that he's been doing with that club. He's just been an incredible asset for that offense. I love what Trey LeClaire has been giving them in a bit of a two-way role. And we still really haven't seen the best from Curtis Dixon or Dane Dobie this year. But Austin Stotts has been a beast. So I think really San Diego, and one of my hot takes early in the year, that the top 4 were going to be 4 Eastern teams because San Diego had got off to a bit of a slow start. And Toronto and Albany were racing to the top. But I think this San Diego team is definitely one to keep an eye on. And out of the former Western teams, they truly are the best of the best.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned the Warrior Burning take, too, because you've had some bangers this year. and I've gotten on to you in the past for saying, well, don't come at me, bro. I'm like, come on, that's what we do here.
Yeah, I get you.
What are some of your favorite ones that you've had? Because I thought Albany, I think you nailed that because they did lose in January. So that was
that was the only one that I've technically nailed. A lot of the other ones were futures. The one I got coming up this week, I don't want to spoil it yet, might ruffle a lot of feathers for lacrosse traditionalists. So it's going to be a bit of a different look at things. I think I was maybe a little too hasty on Georgia making the playoffs after their dip, saying you could lock the top 5 in to the playoffs. I like the Simmons and Kurtz dynamic duo one, though. Kurtz has dipped a little bit in the last couple of games, but I think what those two have done in their rookie seasons is just going to go down in history as 2 of the best rookie teammates of all time. And we've had some great rookie teammates, Lyle and Jesse King when they first came in the National Lacrosse League. Obviously, Paul and Gary when they came in the National Lacrosse League. It's just been a fun time, and at points sometimes it's hard to come up with burning take. You don't want to obviously upset too many people, and it's hard because when we're constantly talking with coaches and the players, you don't really want to say something so outlandish. You don't want to say, I would love to see, like, I could say I would love to see this team trade for this guy, but you don't want to put that out there, and then you have to go talk to the guy and say, hey, why are you trying to get me traded? So it's a lot of fun. I have a great time doing it. Again, we just have a lot of fun with it and make some things up. And sometimes I don't have anything going into that week, and I just find something right at the last minute. Or sometimes, like this week's burning hot take is something that I've been trying to figure out how to say over the last couple of weeks because I continually notice what I've been noticing as games go along. So it's been a ton of fun.
Teddy's cooking, man. I love it. I love it. So with the Warrior Burning take, I just want to say you've done a great job on that as well. And before I let you go, I got to ask you, do you have anything that you got to plug here? Because we gotta get some more Teddy, man.
No, we got later on in the year we're gonna do one of those watch parties again. I know you've been doing it a couple times for some games, just kind of hanging out, watching the game on your streams. So Pat and I'll do another couple of those as the season goes on, so fans can hang out with us and watch the games. I'm not sure what platform we'll do, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or StreamYard. But we're going to have a couple watch parties as the season goes on. Obviously, the Montreal game coming up in a couple weeks. I wish I was going to be at that. That's going to be fantastic. But I got back-to-back Calgary games coming up. Toronto, Calgary this weekend. Halifax, Calgary in a couple weeks. Then we get to Saskatchewan in March, so we get to go hang out with Cody Jansen and the people who just loved freezing cold of Saskatoon. So it's a good stretch of games coming up over the next few weeks. And like I said, the watch parties will be happening probably in March and April.
I'm very excited. And you, of course, one of the faces of the league in just terms of broadcast, which I, from a non-athletic perspective, appreciate. So thank you for being the voice of the voiceless over here, Teddy. And
I appreciate it, man. You and producer Poppy do a great job. It's as someone who's been doing a radio show and a podcast for over a decade, it's not easy, and to be doing it Monday to Friday is a great success. So keep up the good work. Appreciate you having me, and keep those spicy takes coming, and try not to upset too many people with your fresh takes.
I love it, dude. Teddy Jen, everybody, thanks so much again.